chair of the Quality of Life and Delivery Service Delivery Committee. And Mariama James is with us, and she's co-chair, and Lucian Reynolds, who is our district manager for CB1. Welcome to our Quality of Life meeting. We are starting. We have one major item on the agenda tonight, and so that is what we will be tackling. But before we do that, we have lost a long-term member of our committee, Robert Schneck. And so if we could just take one moment of silence, I would appreciate that in honor of Bob's passing and of his life.
Kelly reflected on the conversation yesterday. Let's listen.
We'll say in terms of our mission, one of the me, in which we want to continue with this work that I have given some meaning to my life, is NPR's commitment to the poor. Just to hear documents, there are a lot of takes all over social.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So, again, I don't know if everyone heard it, but we record all of our meetings, and then they are posted on CB1's YouTube channel. So just be aware that you are being recorded. So I'd like to start with, we have one major item, and it is about 105, the shelter that's going to be going in on 105 Washington Street. We have two, right? There's two guests tonight. So Abby, if you and Hadaria would introduce yourselves and tell us who you are and what you do and what organization you work for.
Sure, I'll go first. First, our condolences to this committee for their loss.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Abby Nyamich. I'm Chief Administrative Officer for the Center for Urban Community Services. We're the nonprofit provider who is going to be operating the Safe Haven at 105 Washington Street. Thank you all for having us here to talk about the program and to answer your questions.
Hadaria, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. Hi, I'm Hadaria Morgan. I serve as the Chief Operating Officer and General Counsel for the Center of Urban Community Services. I handle development, asset management, construction management, as well as the legal and regulatory compliance of the agency. And I too would like to echo my condolences to this committee, to this
Thank you very much.
board.
So just tell us a little bit before we actually get into the project. Would you just tell us a little bit about what CUCS does?
I'll start, and then I will just turn it over to Abby. We were originally a mental health services provider that was part of Columbia University. Our founder then started his own organization in 1994. We are primarily a mental health services organization. We primarily service individuals who are homeless or formerly homeless. Our services have expanded in the years of our evolution. We provide street homeless service solutions. We provide shelter services. We provide permanent supportive housing. In fact, the bulk of our work is permanent supportive housing services. And we also provide training on mental health to the NYPD and other mental health providers. And I'll just stop there and turn it over to Abby.
Yeah, I think Hadaria captured it really well. I just want to add, we have a medical affiliate, Janian Medical Care. They provide all of the primary care, nursing, and mental health or psychiatric services to our programs. We've really felt that the integration of services like that into spaces that serve homeless folks and formerly homeless people has been really critical to the success of our programs. And we're really excited to be able to do that with 105 Washington, which we'll talk a little bit more about. But that also is a big sort of service that we bring on into our programs, which really meets the needs of our clients.
Oops, so thank you for letting us know what the agency does. now, why don't we just jump right into this project at 105? I think the first time this community heard about this proposed project was about 4.5 to 5 years ago. So it's been in the works for quite a while. So, of course, we had the interruption of the pandemic. And so, now I realize you're going forward. So why don't you tell us what the project is about?
Sure. So I'll start, and Hidaria is going to jump in to fill in the gaps where I might miss some things. So 105 Washington Street is going to be a safe haven program. Safe havens are transitional living communities, really, and they're designed for folks who are outreached by any number of the street outreach teams in New York City, who outreach folks who are bedded down and living on the streets and in the subways. The safe haven is not a drop-in. Sometimes it's people think that anybody could sort of just show up at the front door to receive services. We really take our referrals from the outreach teams who have engaged folks who are living on the street and who are offering them services designed to bring them inside. And one of those services is a safe haven program. So all of our referrals are coming from street outreach teams. What happens is what we like to do is we really want to make sure that the safe haven is a place where people feel like they can come inside. A lot of folks who are on the street are reluctant to go into the general shelter system for a variety of reasons. So the safe haven is really purposefully built to bring people inside and to keep them inside. And one of the ways that it does that is it's much smaller typically than the traditional shelter system or a traditional shelter. Folks have the opportunity to stay in dorm style rooms. At 105, we're going to be able to serve 84 people. What's going to be unique about the program is that we're going to have rooms for folks who are coupled. So what we often see for people who are on the street who are in a part of a couple is that they don't want to separate from their partner in order to go into shelter or safe haven. And so having a resource that will serve people who are in a relationship, who have partners who are living with them on the street is really one of the resources that has not really been met. There are some safe havens that do offer dorms for couples, but we're really going to have a good number of dorms set aside, about 15 dorms set aside for couples. The other thing that's going to be unique about our program is that we're going to be able to accept pets. We also see that as an issue for folks who are on the street. They don't want to be separated from their pets in order to come inside. And so the opportunity to bring their pets with them is another way that we're really working to get folks to allow folks to avail themselves of this service. So at the Safe Haven, we'll have about 35 staff. That's going to include on-site health, mental health, and nursing services, including and also case management services. We're going to have 24-hour security. The program really is a 24/7 program. So we have staff on 3 shifts, really, the daytime shift, the evening shift, and then overnight. So there's always staff available to the program participants. So as I said earlier, people are referred to the Safe Haven. It's a formal referral process. So when people come to the program, they meet with a clinical worker who is going to assess them for any immediate needs that they have when they arrive. Part of that assessment is to make sure that we're helping people acclimate to the program as soon as possible. We do checks if people have any residency restrictions. I know that comes up as a concern for folks. Do folks have residency restrictions because they're registered as a sex offender? If people have residency restrictions, we do make referrals elsewhere. We work with our colleagues at DHS to make those referrals. New York City has a right to shelter decree, and we really have to work with the system to get people to a more appropriate placement if the safe haven is not an option for them. So what we like to do when we design our buildings is we like to ensure that people have what they need on site. So there'll be rooftop available for folks if they want to smoke. We do encourage people to stay in the building and to participate in services. You know, the goal of the program is really to stabilize folks. People stay from 6 to 9 months, and during that time, they're working on whatever it is that they need to and want to work on towards permanent housing. At the end of the day, our ultimate goal is permanent housing, and so we do our best to try and keep that as the focus of the work that happens at the Safe Haven. So providing activities on site, providing opportunities for folks to be on site is important. We can't force people to stay in the building, of course, but we like to make it as positive as possible. We'd previously had a question about whether or not people have to leave the building during the course of the day, and that won't be the case. It's typically not the case for Safe Havens. People can stay. We're going to have on-site therapeutic services for folks, including groups. Folks who need medical and psychiatric services will be able to see our on-site providers. Our nurse will be providing education around managing health concerns, medications, monitoring. So it's really designed to be service rich, so folks can really do what they need to do in preparation for housing, but we also want to support people towards permanently maintaining housing once they move out. And as folks get closer to moving out to stabilizing, we do work with them on housing applications. We go with folks on housing interviews, and we really want to make sure that they make that transition into permanent housing safely and have what they need to live successfully in the community. So I'm not sure Hadari, feel free to step in if I missed anything. I think that was sort of a broad overview of the program. We're happy to answer any questions that people might have.
So, Hadari, did you want to add anything before I start asking some questions?
Sure. I think the only thing I would add with respect to the program is to emphasize that we've operated safe havens before, including we've had a longstanding safe haven in Uptown in West Harlem, known as the Kelly. The other thing I wanted to add is that we have a team-based approach, and we have an emphasis on coordinated care between the social services we offer, as well as the primary and psychiatric medical care that we offer through our affiliate. So when you tour a safe haven, when you're a client entering a safe haven, there is both primary care and also psychiatric care on site, which we think helps to not only stabilize clients and of course makes us a better neighbor, but it also helps actually transition people into permanent housing more efficiently and with better efficacy. So there is, I just want to emphasize coordinated care. That includes everything from referrals to medication management and so forth. It is actually helpful to have both types of doctors on site, both types of nurse practitioners as well, excuse me.
Thank you, Hadari.
Can I add something else? I'm sorry, I neglected to mention this because I know that this comes up for communities that we partner with. So once a safe haven opens, we will establish what's called a CAB, a Community Advisory Board. The Community Advisory Board is established really in partnership with the Department for Homeless Services, which oversees all safe haven programs in New York City. So they will be overseeing this safe haven. And the CAB is a meeting of stakeholders in the community. Typically, it's our immediate neighbors who are on the CAB, the program director, and a representative from the neighborhood precinct, police precinct. We have other stakeholders who might be other service providers who are in the community, or members of a business alliance or schools. So it's really designed to include folks in the community in a conversation about the safe haven as it integrates, but even long term. So our goal is to make sure that as we join a community, we're good neighbors. And it's really going to be a space for people to raise questions, to raise concerns. What we find oftentimes with the CAB is it's also an opportunity to talk about the experience of street homelessness in the community. So while we may not, as a safe haven, be able to go out and do the outreach ourselves with folks who are sleeping on the street, we certainly coordinate with the outreach teams and try to get folks to come into our safe haven. But it is an opportunity not just to address the safe haven itself, but also homelessness in general in the community, which is something that the community and community board has identified as a need in that area.
Great. Sorry.
And then, sorry, the last thing I will say is, well, not the last thing. The other bit of information I want to provide is we also will post and make available a phone number to the program. So if anybody, once the safe haven opens, if anybody has any questions, any concerns, they can reach out. Usually the program director is the one who responds to those questions, although the front desk may take the call. So our goal again is to make ourselves available to the community as they have questions. And so that's sort of that'll be another way in which we will be connected with you all about the program.
And speaking of that number, that was one of the things I was going to ask you. We had talked about this, 4 or 5 years ago when
Yeah.
your organization first came. And that number is in real time. It's someone that will be there at that
Correct.
moment if a member of the community has something that they need to report. And also people could knock on the door, I assume the front door, and say if there's an issue that they see happening, can the members of the community just knock on the front door of 105 and say we have something we need to report?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how much that happens, but people definitely have come to our programs. I think mostly people make phone calls, but there's always going to be somebody at the front desk. In fact, there's a rule about that. So there'll always be somebody available in real time to address concerns.
Right.
If
So
people feel
members of
comfortable
the
coming to the building, yes.
members of the community realize that they have several ways to contact 105. So it's great that you're going to have animals, because we do all understand that a lot of people do not want to go into housing because they can't take their animals with them. Does that include all kinds of animals? We're going to have dogs and cats and birds and all kinds of animals. And if so, what are you going to do about people having to take their animals out to walk them and, to take care of them? Are there vet services provided? Tell us a little bit more about how you're handling the animals.
Adara, you want me to take that? So people are going to be responsible for managing and taking care of their pets. We're certainly going to have house rules. And I think if there are any issues or any concerns, we would raise that with our clients. I mean, they're going to be taking their animals with them into permanent housing, right? And so in many ways, the work that they would be doing at the safe haven is all about what happens when they go into permanent housing. We have heard of a few, we've been to community board meetings before, and it's always nice when people offer up a resource to us, and that's part of what we'll do is we'll be looking at resources to help us, whether it's with free food services and donations for pets and other kinds of hygiene things for pets. Would be happy to accept that. But we, like with anything else, we're going to be working with our clients to whatever extent they'll need some support in supporting their pets.
Okay, great. We have not a policy, but Community Board 1 is really kind of opposed to rooftop decks. So you say you're going to have a rooftop deck. I mean, in the licensing committee, when restaurants and bars come and want to have rooftop decks, we really hate it because noise travels. So explain to us a little bit. Obviously, your rooftop deck is not going to be a bar. It's not going to be a nightclub. You're not going to serve food up there. It's just for people to go smoke so that they don't congregate down on the street, right?
Yes, I'll take that. So the way that we design any sort of roof and patio space, and we'll have two spaces. There's a patio that'll be on the second floor. There's exterior, there's rooftop space at the top of the building. The way that we do this is that first and foremost, there's always ashtrays and smoke eaters for all outdoor spaces. The other thing that we do is this is not a space where it's not like a sort of a park. People aren't out playing music. People aren't out, there's not like alcohol and all those other things there. It really is just a way to like get air and yes, smoke, because if they're smoking in those spaces, they're not, congregating in front of the building and so forth. In addition to it, there's always protection around the actual space. I'm sorry, I'm using my hands. It's the building coming out, but there will be there's going to be a 9-foot fence around the actual perimeter of the roof and also of the patio. That fence will have vertical slats, and it'll actually enclose the space. It provides privacy to the clients. I think the community appreciates that it also provides privacy for the neighbors as well. It means that you're not worried about people trying to climb it. You're not worried about people throwing things or anything like that. So those are the concerns that we've heard, or questions we've heard more so. And so that's how we design them. And the design for the exterior space is part of our approved plans as well. So
We're going to talk a little bit about the construction issues after we finish some of these questions. So
okay.
the roof is going to have a 9-foot fence on all 4 sides?
Yes.
Okay. And there's a residential building that's right next to you. And I think one of your neighbors, Esther Riegelston, may be here attending tonight. We'll ask her to ask some questions and speak. But okay, so the roof, and we are going to, your clients will know that there are people living across the street and next door, and so they'll keep the noise
Yeah.
down.
It's also not open 24 hours a day. So rooftop access and patio access will close at 10 o'clock. So yes, we expect people to understand, and we're really clear about that there are neighbors, but it's not a 24-hour space either.
And what time does it open?
It'll open in the morning, particularly when security starts their shifts. So usually 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning.
And if it closes at 10, where do smokers go after 10?
They're either in the building. Most people actually sort of stay in the location, or they're just not smoking. They might leave the building after 10. Most of our clients, if they're leaving the building late at night, they're usually not necessarily coming back in. There's not too many. There's people actually are usually in for an evening, and that's where things stay. In part because there's also a system where you want to be accounted for. I mean, the idea is that intake you need to actually know what your capacity is around between 10 and 11 so that you can understand whether or not you can intake additional clients. So just in those early part of the evening hours, people usually are staying put, and people are usually going to bed, to be honest.
And so people are not really, so you might have different clientele every day.
Um,
Theoretically, you could have different clientele every day.
Theoretically, but the length of stay is about 6 to 9 months, because the intent is to stabilize people, wrap those services around them, and then actually get them into permanent housing.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and if I
Uh,
could just add to that, the way
Sure.
safe havens work is that if somebody leaves for the evening, because you do have folks who are not yet, they want to be inside, but it might be hard to stay inside initially. And so we are able to hold the bed up to 72 hours in safe haven programs. And and that's what we do. Our goal really is we want to know everybody that's in the building. And so while some people may have concerns about the fact that we don't have a curfew, and that a person can leave for a night and not come back for a couple of nights, we would rather somebody come back to us because we know them and we've been working with them, because it helps us maintain a stable community, right? Because you get to know the person, you're working with them, and it's for the safe haven model is designed to ensure that people have a place to go, and that's why the rules around curfew are just different. We really don't want to exclude people from this service. We want to include as many people as possible. And what we find is that the rule for the 72 hours is actually a benefit to knowing who your folks are and continuing to do the work, even if it might be disrupted by 1 or 2 evenings
And I'm
initially,
sure,
as people get comfortable being
I
inside.
was going to say, I'm sure once your clients get comfortable with you and being in that particular space and in this community,
Yeah.
they will want to stay there. They'll want
Mhm.
they'll feel safer inside. You
Mhm.
Right,
know,
right,
who their
right.
neighbors are.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think we're hearing a lot about the challenges of services, right? And how people can become very disconnected very quickly. And so, I think as a city, we're thinking about how to keep people connected to services. And this is one of the ways to do that is
Great.
thinking about curfew differently.
Now, are some of your clients going out to work every day?
That does happen. I couldn't put a number of how many people do
Yeah.
that, but our clients are resourceful. They take care of themselves, and so that is something that people can and will do. We also have within our programs, people have opportunities to do some amount of activities, work activities as well, helping out, and that is one thing that helps us build a community within the building.
Fantastic. Okay, so now would you like to, unless you have anything else you want to add, would you like to get some questions from the community board and the residents and then go on to the construction part of this discussion? Or do
Sure.
you want to do the construction part next?
I think we're just open to questions in however order it sort of shows up, and we'll just take it. We'll take it from there. We'll answer.
Well, I see Desi has her hand up and Mariama. So go ahead, ladies. Desi.
Hi, I just wanted to say that around the curfew, that I really appreciate that you're allowing folks to come and go. I think part of what you're seeming to provide is some normalcy and an opportunity to stabilize people. But I think it is also important to keep people's dignity intact. And so, allowing people to come and go within a certain amount of time so that you can also make a bed available if they no longer want the services, I think is really important. So I commend that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Desi. Mariama?
What do you say, or would you say, or have us say to those people who would presume that just the appearance of a shelter automatically means that our neighborhood is going to become overrun with crime?
Do you hear her?
Yes, yes, we did
Mhm.
hear her. I mean, I would say that CUCS has successfully run shelters, and our integration into the community has not erupted into an increase in crime. Anytime you open a facility, there's always a learning curve and experience. But our clients primarily are have the needs of other New Yorkers who have fewer resources and need help. So it is always our intent to be a good neighbor. We work really hard at that. We are really responsive when it comes to those community advisory board meetings. So we have a system and a plan and a program for how we'll do security, for how we'll lay out space, for how we'll work with our clients. But we really do rely and respond to feedback from the community in order to actually be a good neighbor. Because I mean, the reality is that in addition to serving our clients, our staff is there as well. We are there. We want to be safe too. We also want to feel welcome when we're working in the neighborhood. We don't want people to sort of say, there goes those people that work at that building, that 105 building. We don't want that either. We want to feel like, if you see us, you say hi and we say hi. And if you see a problem, you can knock on the door. You can call us. You can let us know. That's really important to us. In addition to working with the neighbors, fellow business owners, we also work with the police department, the local precinct. We'll work with other alliance groups in the area. So um, that is pretty much what I would say. It is our intent and what we strive for is integration in the neighborhood. And so I would say that in response to you're going to necessarily see an increase in crime. I will also say this, part of the reason why you're getting this safe haven in this area was it in response to a district need statement, I believe, a few years back, that you were seeing more street homelessness. And I know that there was particularly more street homelessness that folks were seeing during the pandemic as well, because office buildings weren't as populated, maybe are starting to come up, but not as populated as they once were. So the need for a place to actually have people stay and live as they actually stabilize and get into permanent housing, I think is important for the community. And so the preference then and the intent is to actually have referrals of people in the area into the safe haven. We can't always guarantee who comes in first, but the intent is to actually have a preference for people in the downtown area to use that facility.
That's great. Good. And as a neighbor of yours, I've lived in the community 47 years. I'll be around the corner from you guys. I will go by and say hi.
Thank you.
I'll knock on the door and say hi. Welcome.
Thank you.
Mitch, you have something? A question?
I had a question about the capacity of the rooftop. You know, going back, kind of piggybacking on what you brought up before, Pat. So, because while the fence is a good idea, you know, for the you know, the not throwing things or the visual things, the privacy, you know, it really has zero bearing on the sound. In fact, if anything else, it'll condense it, you know, going up. So I was just curious about the capacity of the rooftop. And if there was going to be like a kind of a number quota for amount of people allowed at one time, or it's a small capacity anyway.
It's actually a small capacity anyway. I've been on the rooftop once we have, I know that we've, you know, there's an elevator bulkhead that we've actually, as part of our plans, will be moving. So it's not as though you're going to, there's not like, it's going to be limited capacity anyway between that and the patio. You won't see
So
sort of,
could a touch more specific, like limited capacity, you know,
I don't have a
5 or
particular,
20?
Well, you
I
have
think
84
It
residents.
doesn't have to be exact, just like ballpark, you know, like less than 10, more than 20, you know, 50, you know, just so we get an idea. That's all.
I think with the rooftop, I think, and it'll depend on how often people are using the space. We hope more often. I think for the rooftop, more than 20. I think for the second floor patio, definitely less than that. But again,
Okay.
we're still building, and so I just need to actually, I mean,
Not holding
this
you
may
to it,
shift.
just getting an idea.
This,
That's all.
this may shift as we
Yeah, you can always come back to us once you have some more information. So just, I'm sorry, Mitch, you done? You done? Finished?
Thank you.
Yeah, just a question. So this second floor patio, does it front onto Washington Street?
No, it is in the back of the building.
Back of the building, okay. And again, you have neighbors, so you'll be, you know, you're aware of the noise. Lucian, you had a question?
One thing,
Well,
just to let them
yeah,
know,
go ahead.
this has nothing to do with what I was with tacking like the you know the place, the shelter, or the drop in, you know, or the this if this was a $1 billion restaurant, we would be asking the same question about the rooftop. I just wanted to make that clear.
Understood.
I appreciate that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Thanks, Mitch. Lucian?
Thank you.
Yeah, Pat, as somebody who's seen Mitch in action in other committees, I can attest that he's always asking about sound and especially rooftop spaces. So Mitch,
Exactly.
just backing you up there. I also want to let the community and the board know that the offices, you know, we have direct contact with CUCS as well as their representation, as well as the DHS. So we're another avenue of communication. We are another avenue if people want to report issues, if they don't want to do so directly to CUCS. We're happy to package those as well. You know, we are a resource for you all as well. So just want to make everyone know that they can reach out to CB1.
Great. Thanks, Lucian. Any other questions from the committee? If not, we'll open it up to the public. No committee? No? Oh, yes. Diane?
You mentioned about noise traveling. But what about, I don't know how close it would be to residential buildings, but what about smoke? And will there also be like cannabis? You know, like will the smoke fumes be traveling too?
I mean, the intent is to actually minimize and mitigate that with the use of smoke eaters and ventilation systems. So we always have smoke eaters and other systems when we use any sort of outdoor space.
Are they allowed to smoke cannabis up there?
No, it's just cigarette smoking.
Yes.
Okay. Mimi?
I'm curious about Like, do you have daytime programming for the residents?
We do. We typically have groups that are available for the residents. Those groups can be therapeutic groups or learning groups, but they can also be recreational groups because that's just as important to people's health and well-being, recreation. So we are going to have on-site groups. People will also be meeting one-on-one with their workers for any number of things that happen. But we have people who come in from off-site who provide group services for us, and then we also run our own groups as well.
Great. Okay, committee members, any other questions? Okay, then let's open it up to the public. Lucian, do we have any questions?
I have one quick.
Oh,
Oh.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Desi.
Yeah, I was just wondering why they're not allowed to smoke cannabis.
So it is an environment, while we have a sort of a harm reduction, low barrier model, we also want to encourage sobriety and we also want to encourage recovery as well. And so we have found through our experience that sort of keeping the quote unquote kind of clean environment is helpful for those who are actually trying to recover. So I know that there's different schools of thought on that, but that our school of thought is actually limiting it to cigarettes and so forth. We also, yeah.
Understood. Thank you.
And then Mariama has a follow-up question. Go ahead, Mariama.
Well, I was just going to say cannabis smoking is also prohibited in like public housing and stuff. And so that's probably another reason why it wouldn't be permitted here. Just something I learned in participating in the cannabis implementation meetings. They're not allowing it in public housing. So
Yeah.
but this is a government funded shelter. That's probably another reason why it won't be allowed there.
Thanks, Mariam.
Thanks, Mariam. Okay, committee, one more time. Any other questions? Okay, if not, we're opening up to the residents and to the public.
Okay, Pat,
Yes.
just so that everyone knows, the attendees, that we get the hand raises in order of hand raise. So Pat, I'll go in order. So
And I'd
first
also
is
like to, okay, we're going to give everyone about a minute to speak, to ask your question.
and I have a timer. Susan Iannelli, you may now unmute yourself, and I'll start timing once you start talking.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. All right, I have a couple of questions. How are their basic needs going to be provided? Food, clothing, hygiene? How are they get clothes? How is this going to be provided?
That's a great question. Thanks for asking that. So we do serve 3 meals a day. When folks move in, they usually get a hygiene kit. We do get donations of clothing, so if that's a need for people, we'll provide that. So it really is a all service program. Of course, there's laundry on site if people need. Everybody's going to need laundry, but we have everything really on site to meet people's basic needs.
Are you aware that in this community, it's very, very expensive to buy food and pizza is $5 a slice? How are these people going to go outside?
So we provide meals. We also, people also, we provide meals. We've had in a number of our facilities, anywhere from restaurants and catering companies that further supplement our meal provision, but we do provide meals. And the intent is to get them on public assistance benefits as well. So they're not going to be dependent. Yeah. Yes, they're not going to be solely dependent on external resources for food as we get them ready for permanent housing.
But you are aware they're going to want to go outside and they're not. What kind of money are they going to be getting to go outside and buy a newspaper or buy cigarettes? Where are they? How much money are they getting? And is it daily or monthly? Is it a voucher program? Is it a debit card?
So we provide clients with a whole host of things. We will at times help them with Metro cards. Well, now that they're no longer in use anymore, that's how long ago I was. But we do help them with all sorts of items. I will say this: that we work to get folks public assistance benefits that they do have income. And that includes everything from SNAP to cash assistance to also, by the way, SSD or SSI benefits as well. So we're working with them to actually obtain income, and most of our clients actually do so. So that it's an important step for them to be able to obtain permanent housing. So we don't normally give folks money. We actually find that that's just not helpful. But we do help folks manage their money and save. We do help them actually obtain income. And we do provide them with either materials or supplies. I'm sorry. Yes, either supplies in order to help them, for them to meet their basic needs. And they can meet their basic needs with everything on site.
Okay, but aren't
Dawn, you
these
have
people,
time for
or
one more.
can
I
I
mean,
say
Susan,
something?
you have time for one more question.
Wait, aren't these people already part of APS? Aren't they already receiving services through APS?
They're not necessarily part of APS.
Why not?
Because APS is a separate and distinct program. You don't have to be part of APS to actually obtain shelter. So there might be some folks who are connected with APS. There might not be folks who are connected with APS. There might be people who have active cases. Very often our clients have had an active PA case in the past, but it might have been sanctioned. They might have actually come off of PA because of some other issue, non-compliance. They lost housing. They were evicted, all sorts of things. So that is part of the work that we do, is get their benefits reinstated.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next question. And everyone, please try to ask all your questions up front. It's easier to be fair to everybody who has their hand up. Son, you're next. You can unmute.
Hi, can you hear me? Yep, you guys can hear me, right? Okay,
Yes.
So first off, I wanted to say thank you. I am a resident of the Financial District for 17 years, and I previously served on the Community Education Council, and I also volunteer with Open Hearts. I support this facility because I think that if we're really going to address the homelessness, we have to start somewhere, and it sounds like you guys have thought of lots of things. My question to you, especially because I volunteer with Open Hearts, and we've worked with other similar types of facilities, is how can we make sure that we connect with you? Because I really like the idea of this not being an isolated entity on its own, because we want the community to be involved. And, you know, we can do, like, things we've done in the past is like have free stores. And I especially liked it when we did it around the holidays. And so we would have things like donated jewelry that people could buy for their loved ones so that they could feel like, you know, they could have something to give. So if you have any thoughts about how we could do that, and if you don't have an answer today, that's fine. But I know that a lot of the concerns that people have is usually around street homelessness. So I never really understand why people then say, I don't want the shelter. It's like, well, and every neighborhood does not here. But I'm actually, I'm glad. But if you could just answer that about how we can partner with you.
Sure, I'll take that. So I think when the building opens, that our program director would likely be the contact for that. And as Lucian said, there are many ways to be in touch with us about that. We're happy to talk directly with you at Open Hearts about this. And so what we like to do when we move in or we establish a program is we are connecting to resources in the community that can help, right, create an experience for our clients, our residents, and for the community that is a mutual experience. And so we'd love to be able to partner around that sort of thing. And you know, we'd love to hear from other folks if they're interested in partnering with us around donations and around programming that really supports you know, our residents, and also contributes to the health and well-being of the community and its members.
Okay, and CB1 will be happy to be a clearinghouse for any organizations that
Sure.
are sent to you. We're happy to make those connections. We're going to keep moving because we want to get you out before you have to go, Abby. The next person is Anastasia. You can now unmute yourself. Anastasia, there you go.
Dimitri, Anastasia's husband.
Hi.
Okay.
And Anastasia. So my question is going back to something that was discussed in terms of monitoring for safety, in terms of reporting issues to you guys, what's the actual method of doing that? And how do you know that it's one of your clients or another member, another homeless person that's in the street? And then what is the action? What is the actual mechanism? What do you guys do? Like if I go and I say, hey, there's a guy 2 blocks away that's punching the air to the side of him, where there's a gentleman that's in the neighborhood that walks around kind of punching everything around him. What do you guys do?
That's a great question because it does come up. Generally speaking, what does happen is somebody from the program might go to check to evaluate, right, the issue and to see if this is somebody who is really part of our safe haven. What we do find is that we're oftentimes responding to concerns for folks who are actually not part of our program, but I think it's hard for people to know. And people don't always keep in mind all of the different sort of service providers in a community. So if we're not the service provider, we will connect people. We will contact the outreach team and engage them around that. If we think it's an emergency that's happening on the streets, then we'll call 911. So we even if the person is not our client, we'll assess to see if they are. We are familiar with what services are available and how to respond to emergencies and crises, and so we intervene accordingly.
What's the kind of, you mentioned about 84 individuals, you mentioned 15 families, that's about
Not families, no, couples, adult
Right.
couples.
Right, so
Sorry.
targeting 15 couples, so that leaves about 54 people, right? And they're in various states, right? Including people that are, you said, in psychiatric distress. How does that work in the community when somebody that is in psychiatric distress is moving in and out of a building, on a corner, just like in the middle of a residential area? How do you guys kind of manage those people, right? That they're, there may be anywhere from 0 to 20 people in various states of mental distress. How do you guys manage how they move around in the community?
So, we train our staff. All of our staff have pretty comprehensive training for this kind of service. And so folks are trained on harm reduction, they're trained on de-escalation. Our chief medical officer provides trainings to our case management staff around identifying folks who might be in crisis and what to do to intervene. We have safety planning that happens in our buildings. Folks know what to do if there's ever an emergency. We know how to work with area hospitals. If we do need to have somebody go to the ER, and we work with EMS and we work with NYPD around those kinds of responses. So each one of our programs has a safety response. Generally speaking, one of the things that we do is we build relationships with folks who we're working with. And so part of their treatment plan is sort of identifying and knowing when they're not doing well and what works in partnership with them, what works to help them feel safe, feel stable, and to de-escalate when we need to de-escalate, or for them to see the on-site provider when they need to see the on-site provider. As we said, we do have on-site psychiatry, and our psychiatry program, as I said earlier, we partner with Janian Medical Care. They specialize in behavioral health for homeless and formerly homeless people. And so we'll be able to consult with our psychiatrist and psych provider on site. We'll have somebody on site. I think it's between 3 and 4 days a week they'll be with us, helping us coordinate services and certainly seeing people to help them stabilize, get to know what they need in terms of their mental health. And our nurse, as I said earlier, helps folks with medication management and building knowledge around how to take care of themselves. So ultimately, we want to make plans with folks around stabilization. But if people are in crisis, our staff is trained to respond accordingly.
Thank you, Abby. We're going to move on. I know you only have a couple of minutes left, and
I was
then
going to say, Abby, let us know when you have to jump.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
maybe one more question, if that's all right, and then your colleague will be here just for a little bit more time. So let's have everybody try to move quickly through the questions so we have a lot of people able to interact here. So we're gonna have Uri Dalal, Ursula Young, Jung, Natasha Lifton, Judith Mack, and Esther Riegelson. That's the order. Hope we get to everybody, but we may not. So Uri Dalal, you may unmute yourself.
I guess first off, I'd like, if this is going to be sort of cut short in a relatively quick amount of time, I'd like to advocate for continued opportunity to pursue this discussion, because I know there's a lot of people in the community that want to ask questions and find out more information about this. I think there's been a lot of discussion about sort of services and protection inside of the safe haven, but I'd like to understand better protections and security outside of the safe haven, and if there will be sort of security that's monitoring what's going on outside, what's going on in sort of the neighboring blocks. There's a couple of public spaces around that I'm quite concerned will become areas for residents of the safe haven to loiter, do drugs, harass people, and the like. I also would like to understand sort of like what consideration was paid to the nearby schools and how that how the safe haven is meant to sort of like interact and protect the children that are around that might be exposed to situations that are dangerous or at the very least sort of unsavory.
Before I answer those questions, I just wanted to let you all know that Hadaria lost internet connection, so she's, I think, trying to reconnect by phone. So I noticed her face disappeared, so I just wanted to acknowledge that. She just sent me a message. So yes, you're right. We have focused on the security and the process within the building. Generally speaking, if there's an issue that happens outside of the building, we can be generally sort of immediately in front of the building. We typically don't do patrols within the community. Our security doesn't do patrols within the community. One, because we're not enforcement. And so if things are happening in the community, our security guards wouldn't be able to act as enforcement in the way that the NYPD is enforcement. That being said, if things are happening, again, sort of in the same, as somebody asked about if somebody was in crisis on the street, and we're not sure if that's our client or somebody who's homeless and maybe not connected. It's sort of the same thing. If people approach us and talk with us about the concerns that they have, whether it's through the CAB meetings, whether it's through outreach to Community Board 1 folks, we will respond and we will talk with our clients. We can't restrict people from being in spaces that are intended to be public spaces, but if people are acting in ways that are either breaking the law, then you know that requires a response. We do talk with all of our residents about our good neighbor policy when they come into the building, and we reiterate that through our community meetings. We want to make sure that people understand the expectation when they're in the community, and we will monitor it, and we will work with the NYPD if need be, and we'll work with other community stakeholders around that. So Hadaria mentioned our safe haven in West Harlem, which has been around for a number of years now. That safe haven is located a few blocks from a train station, a pretty busy train station. We have 4 or 5 public schools in the neighborhood, including elementary schools. And there's never been any interaction with those schools. There's never been any concerns raised by those schools about the safety of their students and their staff. And so we appreciate that people have worries about what's going to happen when our clients come into the community. But our experience with that safe haven, which is going to be structured very similar to 105 Washington, is that is not coming up as an issue. Our clients are not creating concerns within the community, and certainly not with regard to students, to children, and to neighboring schools.
I believe you had a meeting with the parents from.
That's right. Yes, we have. We met just this week, and we've had conversations in the past with PS 150, We
So you
recently,
work with them,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
great.
and we'll continue to do that in the with other schools that are in the community as
Yeah.
well. I mean, I think
And
that's part
also
of our outreach.
your shelter will not be the first shelter we've had in our community, number one. Number two, we have unfortunately homeless people in our community all the time and who have nothing to do with obviously with because you're not there yet. So, you know, they will if there's the situation arises, it will be held handled the same way it always has been. We have police. If I'm not mistaken, right across the street on Washington Street from your facility, there will be police presence because there's a security unit that is located there.
That's
And a
right.
couple of years ago, I went up and asked them how they would handle your shelter and it being across the street. And although they are designated to be security for the World Trade Center, the officer said to me, "Well, if we see anything going on in the community, of course we'll, we will take care of it." So there are police presence directly across the street from your shelter on Washington
That's right.
Street. Yeah.
That's right.
All right. Lucian, do we have any more questions? I know you have to jump soon.
Yeah, we have a good list of questions here. We'll just see how far we get. The next person up is Ursula Jung. You may unmute yourself. And Hidaria I heard you're back on as a attendee. I'm trying to find you, and I'll move you over as soon as I can. Ursula, you can go.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So I thank you for all that information. There was a lot in there. And I want to say that, you know, I consider us, I've lived downtown for 20 plus years. I consider us a very inclusive community. And I think I speak for most people here when I say we want to help people in need have access to residential care. It's clearly needed in New York City. And I want people to rise out of poverty and to exit homelessness. But I don't think it's unreasonable to be concerned about the security things. And I think that the questions that were asked have not been answered adequately. The number of people you have for security, I think you said 35, doesn't seem like enough. I mean, you said there's people, you know, they're trained in harm reduction and de-escalation, but we know that if someone is having a psychotic episode, it can take upwards of 6 people to get them under control in a situation which is reasonable. You know, why, given the location and how many childcare centers, daycares, and schools are around, is there no way we can have a discussion around making this location more for families with young children rather than single adults?
I see Hidaria has her hand raised, so she's back.
Yeah.
*6 will unmute you, Hidaria.
And once again, I'm reiterating that there are going to be police presence directly across the street on Washington. And we actually have an officer in attendance tonight. Sergeant Cordero is here. Corrado is here. And so he might be able to address some of these issues also. Hidaria, did you want to answer that question?
Let's see if I can help here.
Maybe she's muted.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear
Yes.
Okay. First, I want to say that just in terms of our standpoint, we don't think it is unreasonable for you to ask questions about security. We are doing our best to answer them and provide the information as accurately and transparently as we can. I did want to actually just level set and correct something. When we say that we've got 35 staff, that's 35 staff. That's not 35 security. It is extraordinarily rare to have any shelter in this city with 35 security on site at the same time. Typically, there'll be a number of officers, depending upon the size of the actual facility, a supervisor, and then potentially a number of officers per shift and so forth. The combination of security staff and social services staff
are what actually helps not only manage the clients within the building, but actually keeps folks, helps protect, I guess, folks outside the building with respect to our clients. I also want to say there are still going to be other issues that relate to homeless folks. I'm sorry. I don't know what just happened with the phone, but
We can
you
hear
still
you,
hear
so
me?
yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, I just lost my train, but wanted to say that that part of what we do is work with both law enforcement and also FDNY's EMS and so forth to actually coordinate responses to emotionally distressed persons for our clients, but also we work with outreach to coordinate that within the community for people who are homeless and who are not our clients. We work with other security from other private personnel in other buildings and businesses and so forth. We typically have external patrols really for our immediate neighbors. Our security staff would not be patrolling the neighborhood, in part because they are not police. They don't have the authority to arrest, detain, and so forth. In fact, if they are outside and they see something, they will be calling law enforcement. They will also be calling staff to actually diffuse any situations while law enforcement or potentially EMS or any other medical person responds. So we have not ever had, and prior to joining CUCS, I did work directly for DHS as counsel for a number of years. And we've not had shelters with fleet of security in them, and yet we've been able to actually integrate into communities. I think a lot of that has to do with how well we actually monitor and service clients and how well we interact with all of you.
Thanks, Adaria. And I mean, we've had other shelters in our community. We've had relatively no problems. We have, because of where we're located, we also have a huge police presence for the security of the World Trade Center. And so we have cameras everywhere. We're constantly being monitored. And, I'm sure that first of all, not every incident that would happen with an unhoused person in our community would be someone who is affiliated with your shelter. So, okay. Do we have any other
Next question?
questions?
Yes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hands up. Abby, do you tell me when you've got to go?
Okay.
Right. Next is Natasha Lifton. Natasha, you have 1 minute, but please try to ask your question as fast as you can. Then you'll get more
If it's
response.
something that's been asked and answered, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understood. Yes, hi everyone. My name is Natasha Lifton, and I am Director of Government Relations at Trinity Church Wall Street. This is less of a question and just more of a statement. Trinity is often asked to weigh in on the siting of shelters in our community, and so I just wanted to share with the community board and the residents, as well as with the CUCS staff, that we firmly believe that as Christians, we're taught to treat our neighbors as ourselves. And as such, Trinity Church Wall Street is committed to serving and supporting all of our neighbors, especially the most vulnerable. As plans for shelters in our community, including the Safe Haven, are being considered and developed, we will always do everything we can to ensure that the needs of our fellow New Yorkers without homes and our downtown community are met safely and with compassion, inclusiveness, and justice. I would also just add that we are very familiar with CUCS. We've provided funding to the organization in the past, specifically to support its supportive housing work. We really believe that CUCS's comprehensive and integrated services are critical to getting those living on the streets to come inside, get the help that they need, and move into stable housing. So we really, are strongly supportive of the Safe Haven that's being planned for Washington Street, and we look forward to working with CUCS once the Safe Haven is open. I'll also add to the comment about food. We run quite a robust food program, Compassion Market, out of our building at 76 Trinity Place. We do lots of other programming, and so we would really welcome the residents of the Safe Haven to take advantage of the services that we offer. Thank you.
Natasha, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. We really appreciate your support. And we're looking forward to partnership on this project.
I want to
Okay.
echo that and also add just a thank you because we actually ran a church best program. Trinity provided us with that space. We ran that program for a number of years, so thank you as well.
Great.
All right. Thank you. Next, we're going to Judith Mack. Judith, may I unmute yourself?
Long
You're
resident.
unmuted now, Judith. Yep.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm a lifelong resident of CB1, and I just wanted to say that this sounds like an incredible program. You have excellent wraparound services. I love that you provide privacy and meals and you allow pets. I'm looking forward to welcoming new residents to the neighborhood, and I'd be interested in helping out in any way that I can. I'm wondering, my question is, when will the building be opening?
I was going to say
So
we need to get on to kind of those questions, but yeah.
Mhm. Sure. So we anticipate opening in spring. I would say if you're looking for a more specific date, at this point, we're looking at an outside date of March 2024.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to have to jump off. I'm very sorry I have to leave. I have another engagement that
Yeah,
I
no, you
cannot
have something
miss.
very important to do, and congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for spending some time this evening with us. We really appreciate it. And
Okay.
as things
Yes.
progress, hopefully you'll come back and share new updates with us.
Absolutely. We see this as an ongoing conversation, and we want to give people as much information as possible. So we're looking forward to coming back and talking more. So this is certainly not the last opportunity for people to ask questions and get more information about it. We're going to be part
Great.
of the community, which means we stay engaged with the community at all points in time. So thank you all for having me. Hidari is going to continue on.
Great. Thank you, Abby.
And
Enjoy the rest of your
I
evening.
appreciate your time. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Abby.
So Hidaria, let us know how much time you have to stay. Let us know when
I've
you
got
have to
another
jump.
30. I've got another 30 minutes. So.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. So we have
Can we
Esther
get
now.
through the rest of the questions so that we'd like to ask some questions about, actual construction, like when are you starting to work on the building, what's going on, blah, 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 blah. We have those kinds of questions.
Sure.
Okay. So next up is Esther Riegelson. Esther.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Esther.
Hi, everyone. I just want to speak in support of what you're doing, and I live directly next door to 105, 107 Washington at 109 Washington Street. We've already been having a dialogue as neighbors in my building with CUCS. It's been very positive. We communicate well. They answer our questions. We have phone numbers and emails where we can get in contact with them, and it's very good. I also want to point out that Mariama will appreciate this. This will be 100% affordable housing for one building at least.
Amen to that.
Yes, I want to welcome our new neighbors who will be coming in. And I want to also point out that this was the downtown community house, this building at one time, 105, 107. And it will be going back to its origins where it served the community. It served the underserved of the community and the poorer elements who lived here and worked here. And we want that to continue. We want it to reignite what's here. And I'm hoping that the community, the people around the neighborhood will help and support CUCS, support our new neighbors who need our help. And I'm also envisioning a little bit of having maybe some homeless animals also living there that some of the residents can help find homes for and that sort of thing. So maybe we can institute something like that in the future. That would be
So
really
wrapping
nice.
up now.
Okay.
Esther, thanks. But Esther, before you go, how long have you lived at 109?
It's 40 years now.
Thank you. So a
Wow.
40-year resident is welcoming you to the community. Thanks, Esther, for coming out tonight.
Esther, thank you so much for your support.
Yes.
Sorry.
Next, yeah, no problem, no problem. The next person is Maggie Dalal. Maggie, you are now able to unmute. 1 minute.
Well, I live at 75 West Street, which also has an entrance at 110 Washington. And I have some concerns because the street is small, narrow, there's not a lot of lighting. So one of the questions I had was, what is going to be recommended for the neighborhood? There's a lot of scaffolding. Are there going to be safety measures in place? I go out and I walk my dog, and a year and a half ago, I was shoved by a homeless person on the street in the neighborhood. I have concerns about my safety being out on the street. I have little kids. I'm walking out on the street. My second question is, you talked about people who are coming in from the neighborhood. Where are the individuals coming in from if they're not from the neighborhood? Will they be brought in from the subway, from other parks, from other neighborhoods? If you're not able to fill the beds, and then how do you handle people like I'm sure we all saw the news about Jordan Neely. It was listed in the newspaper that he had been in and out of safe havens. So how do you work with individuals like that are, very high risk? They're in, they're out, then they're brought down to my street and now potentially, staying in the neighborhood. So those were my questions. Thank you.
Okay. I'm trying to think about how to sort of what order to answer, and I think I want to start with working with folks who are higher risk. We have a really intensive assessment process. I don't know what kinds of safe havens Jordan Neely was in and out of, or whether they were shelters and safe havens, but we have a comprehensive and intensive assessment process that includes heightened risk assessment for all sorts, I'm sorry, I'm not a clinician. I'm trying to find the best way to say this, but for disorders, for any type of behavior that we think could actually put others at risk. We do this work with not only social services staff, but our psychiatric staff as well. And this is where we think that we actually excel, and that is actually just having those targeted services. Most of our clients don't really move in and out of our site. That might happen, as Abby pointed out in the beginning of their stay, but most of our clients actually feel at home with us. They do want to stay with us, and frequently we actually find them placements within our own supportive housing system, because we do own and operate supportive housing, affordable housing buildings. That's the majority of our work is affordable and supportive housing development. So we actually want to get people out of safe haven and shelter and into apartments. That's just our raison d'etre. In terms of safety, as I mentioned before, I don't know if this was more with respect to construction or overall safety. I'll start with construction. Yes, there's scaffolding up, there's construction around us. And so I've noticed that our sidewalk shed had not only lights, but also cameras. That was a requirement for our site safety plan, so we actually maintain those. Once our scaffolding comes down, we're still going to have cameras in the exterior of the building at multiple angles. Our security will do, as I discussed earlier, when the building opens, exterior patrols, but they'll really be limited to the block and to the immediate neighbors. But we, again, will have, we believe, a good relationship with the precinct and law enforcement in the area. I don't know if that answers everything, but if there's something else you want me to further elaborate on.
Daria, we're going to keep moving because once I lower a hand, then the person drops out of the queue. We're going to go now to Stacy. And if you all just try to keep the questions kind of packaged tightly, maybe easier for Daria to answer them. But they're great questions so far. Stacy, you can unmute now.
Area for 10 years, and I have some concerns about safety. I want to touch upon 3 points, so I'll try and be quick. One is about drug use. I'm curious if it will be permitted at the location and what the illegal drug policy is. If someone could tell me that, and then I'll move on to my other questions.
Can you just
Yeah,
ask all
just
your
ask them
questions at
all,
once?
please.
Okay, sure. The second one is about the population and if there will be possible that level 1 sex offenders could be allowed to stay at the shelter that were once level 2 or 3 sex offenders who petitioned for and were granted level 1 statuses. And then my third question has to do with something that was said earlier, which is that these people are reluctant to come inside. I mean, it's my opinion that the shelters are failing both the homeless population and people in the city. And I want to know how this shelter is going to be different and change these people's behavior so that they do not resist the shelter and leave.
I'm going to start with the third question first. So a safe haven is, some people call it low density, some others call it low barrier environment. Safe havens look different from general population shelters. They are targeted for people who've been chronically street homeless, which is why they have higher or richer service environment is the better way to actually describe it. Also, the physical layout of a safe haven looks different. So as opposed to lots of beds within a dorm setting, safe haven, the way safe havens are designed, there's individual sleeping units and sleeping arrangements. So it looks different. There's a door that one closes. One has a sense of their own space. That also helps in the process of beginning to stabilize folks. We've noticed, especially with people who are street homeless who have indicated that they had been afraid to come inside, but the ability to kind of take their belongings with them, enter into a room and close the door is actually something that helps and something that is more likely to have a person come in off the street. I think the other question dealt with where folks were coming from, whether or not they were coming from other neighborhoods. And the answer is yes, there are people who will be referred from other neighborhoods. Like anything else, there's a preference that the safe haven serves clients within the community. And so our outreach teams will contact us in the areas, not our outreach teams, but the outreach teams in the areas will contact us and actually look to make placements. We'll be looking to prioritize those placements. But you might, in fact, have placements and referrals from other locations. And yes, we would not want that person if you are able to get someone to come in, and let's say they're from further uptown and there's no other place for them to go, we would want them to come downtown here. We would transport them, we would do the intake, the assessment process in order to actually get them into our facility and get them started on their journey to housing.
Okay, the next person up is Elvira Scotto. Elvira?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thanks. I have three questions. Number one, I just wanted to confirm if security is going to indeed be 24/7, because in one of the comments, one of the ladies made is that the rooftop opens when security comes at 7 a.m. So that's my first question. Number two, if you have a client that is continually disruptive or violent to the neighborhood, what are the repercussions? Will they be removed from this shelter? And then number three, maybe this is more for the community board, but I know everyone is incredibly optimistic and I'd love to be optimistic, but if there is a significant increase in crime, what can the community do to address that? Thank you.
Okay, so the first one is yes, security is 24/7. Limiting the hours of any exterior spaces. We want, we're targeting the beginning of the first shift and prior to the end of the evening shift, but that's the rooftop hours and the security hours are not the same thing. So it's 24/7 security. With respect to a client who is violent to the neighborhood or within the facility, we would look to have that client removed or transferred. We would also, first and foremost, look to have that client either hospitalized or some other measure taken. because we don't want to just simply send somebody else to another facility. So if we're seeing these types of episodes, we would actually look to have a true medical, perhaps even institutional intervention. And if that wasn't supported or warranted, we would actually we would be moving to have the client transferred. If they, that's the short answer for that. The last part for the community board, I know that they, that might be an answer for them, but again, we just have a commitment. Yeah.
Sorry, Hidari, I was going to jump in, but I just want to say once again, we have had other shelters in our community. We have never had a significant rise in crime. I'm not sure if Officer Corrado is here yet. Lucian, is he here?
I haven't seen him sign on.
Okay, so hopefully we'll be able, he'll either come before the meeting is over, or maybe next month we can invite one of our officers to come and discuss the shelters that we have had previously in the community and the shelters that we still have now in the community and what has happened in terms of crime. But if any crime ever is committed and you see it, you please call 911. If you have any complaints that are not about something immediately, some danger, then call 311. If there's, excessive noise, if you want to report a homeless person that has been sleeping in front of your door, all of those other issues, please call 311, get a complaint number, and also make sure that we at the community board have that complaint number. Tell your neighbors if they're witnessing the same situation, to ask them to call 311. The more complaint numbers we get about any particular problem, the more we can do about it. So I hope
if I can also jump in, we CB1, Pat, the chair, Tammy Meltzer, we all not only email First Precinct, we have their cell phone numbers. I am in frequent contact with them. We have a very, very, very good relationship with the First Precinct. Pat is on the community council. We actually have a public member who's the president of the community council. We're deeply integrated into the First Precinct. Also, I want neighbors who have concerns. I know that everyone can't go to a million community late meetings. I'm not saying that you have to, but there are build-a-block meetings. If one of your neighbors goes and introduces themselves to the neighborhood coordination officers, get their cards, you'll have their cell phone numbers as well. If you're seeing that there's someone who is acting in a threatening manner and you want the NCOs or one of the steady sector cars to be in that area to see if they are seeing the same thing, or a plainclothes officer, go and take a look. Those are things that you can request, and we can work with them as well. The way that police resources are applied absolutely responds to what the conditions are on the ground. And the more information that we have coming into us, the more information that's going into the NYPD, the better that we can apply those resources in a harmonious way with the community needs. So there's two ways to feed data directly to NYPD. One is 911 when you see something that's either dangerous, it could become dangerous, or is a crime. Please call 911. If you think someone's in danger to themselves, please call 911. If you see somebody who's sleeping on the sidewalk, please call 311. DHS will dispatch people who are trained to engage and try to get them to accept services. It takes something like, I can't remember the number that Leyline told me, but tens and tens and tens of engagements on average before someone accepts services.
Something like 100 and something.
Yeah. So you're doing a service by calling or using the app to notify DHS via 311. These are things that we do when I'm walking around. I put in 311 requests and then I escalate them. You can send me 311 requests. I'll work to escalate them. That's the service the community board does for the community. We're like your expediters. So that's my piece on community safety. You have to let us know. You have to let the NYPD know. But once we do know, we'll try to help correct the condition any way that we can. We don't want crime, and we want the NYPD to serve the residents, workers, students, and visitors of Lower Manhattan.
Exactly. Thanks, Lucia. Before we continue with the public questions, Mariama had something she wanted to add.
Yeah, I'm personally moving on from the safety and security to something else that may have inadvertently been answered in the negative already, but in the description that safe haven is for the chronically homeless. But earlier this week, I learned of a new borough president, Manhattan borough president report stating that the average Manhattan rent as of now, I learned of this on Monday. I don't know when he published the report officially. The average Manhattan rent as of now is $5,000. So basically, every day, it's, there's the saying, there but for the grace of God go I is more and more true for many of us. That's not, chump change. What is, or if there is one, the mechanism for people from our own neighborhood who may need shelter to access this type of place, if any, because you did say that it was for people who are chronically homeless, so that wouldn't necessarily apply. But with the pandemic, with so many people in eviction court and stuff like that, if somebody from our own neighborhood, as opposed to being bussed in from somewhere else, were to become homeless, would they be able to access these types of services?
So I want to sort of clarify what I mean when I say a safe haven. We find that safe havens are primarily environments to actually bring people in off of the street. There's a number of different, there are different types of shelters within the shelter system. There are shelters that are for general population. There are shelters that are for people with severe and persistent mental illness. And then safe havens actually tend to be really effective at removing people from street homelessness. When I say chronic, it's not a barrier of entry. There's not an eligibility requirement that you must be chronically street homeless in order to actually enter a safe haven. But the way that the environment is situated is it actually does a good job of getting people off the street, which is why I believe you got a safe haven and not another type of shelter, which would have a slightly different population. And that can really vary. I would say that with respect to folks coming in from your neighborhood, there was a comment about using the 311 app. That is actually really effective because we receive referrals and placements from outreach teams who across the city. So ideally, we would be receiving referrals and placements from outreach teams that serve this area, that serve this catchment. That's what we would be looking for. For other safe havens, we work very well with outreach teams. There's times when the Manhattan Outreach Consortium, Manhattan Outreach Consortium staff actually have office space within our other two safe havens. So we would actually replicate that here as well.
Thanks, Agaria. So,
Thank you. Yes.
Mariama, is that okay, Mariama? Did it answer your question?
I believe so. I mean, it sounded like if one of our existing neighbors were to become homeless, that they could call 311 and would perhaps be placed in a nearby shelter, a shelter within the neighborhood, or as opposed to sent somewhere else. Because that's one thing that I would hate, to see, like, people from here being sent to other places, other boroughs or something, and people from other places being, brought here while people from here are being displaced. That would bother me.
Yeah. I do want to make a distinction between the shelter system writ large, right? There's intake procedures for the shelter system. So if I called 311 and I said I'm homeless, they would ask me about myself. Are you single? Are you an adult family? Are you currently housed? Are you evicted? Were you recently evicted? And depending upon what I say and what they know about me, they might send me to, an intake facility, which is how you need to go through intake in order to get placed in shelters throughout the city. They are likely to trying to connect you with the community that you left or lived in, yes. Safe havens are getting referrals from outreach teams. Outreach teams are primarily working with street homeless individuals. Like I said, it's not a particular barrier, but that's the nature of how safe haven clients actually get into safe havens, as opposed to clients who are getting into the shelter system. there's intake. If I had a family with children, I would be going to the family intake system known as PATH. If I were single women, I'd be going to one of the intake facilities for single women. If I'm a single man, I'd be going to the 30th Street intake facility. So I know that Abby mentioned earlier about the various services. New York is incredibly service rich, and it does have a system for how it places folks. And depending upon the types of needs, it will then make those placements and adjustments. Does that clarify a little bit more?
Yeah, that is more clear. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Daria. Thanks, Mariama. Okay, Lucian, how many more questions do we have? Because Daria has to jump in about 15 minutes.
I have 5 hands up. I think we can do it. I think we can get everybody.
Okay,
All right.
please try to make your questions succinct and to the point.
Yep, let's try to have everyone be heard. Susan Lee? Go ahead, Susan. You're unmuted.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you may begin.
Okay, great. Thank you. So the rep from CUCS didn't answer some of the questions one of the previous attendees asked, and that was about sex offenders. Because according to the sex offender petition for relief and modification, if you're at a higher level of sex offender, you can petition to get it reduced to level 1 sex offense. Now, our concern is, will that come into play? Will we know that if this individual, even though they're sex offender level 1 status currently, that they were sex offender level 2 or 3, which wouldn't permit them to stay at this facility? That's my first question. And the second question was, it wasn't answered either, was drug use. Will it be permitted to be used? And also one final comment is the counterterrorism police across the street will not deal with local issues. And I just
Yes, they will. I asked them.
I've asked them too at the CEC, the community council, and they said that they don't. So maybe perhaps we could get that clarified.
Yeah, we can get that clarified. What they said to me.
Thank you, Pat.
Yeah, what they said to me is that that is not what they are primarily in our community to do, that they are there for security for the World Trade Center. But of course, if they see an issue, and especially if it's right across the street, they will respond to it. And that is what I was told very clearly by an officer.
Okay, thank you. Pat, if we
You're
could
welcome.
get that clarified, thank you.
Mhm.
All right,
And so the other question is about the sex offenders.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep track of everything because there were actually 3 things there. I think the second part of that had to do with drug use and so forth. Actually, when residents or anyone comes into the actual safe haven, there is, in addition to a search with wanding and magnetometers, there's a bag search. And we're looking for weapons and we're looking for drugs as well. So unless the way that we handle medication management, we actually store medications in the med suite in the facility. So if there are other drugs that are not like over-the-counter drugs, then we are going to retain them. We're going to hold on to them and then handle the client. But there's actually a search, a bag search. There are also routine searches of the individual units as well. So the short answer is, no, we don't really allow drugs in the safe haven, and our procedure is actually access control and searches. We try to do this in the least intrusive way so that people don't, completely walk away from safe havens. But it is a part of our procedure. Safe havens are kind of a clean and sober environment. And that actually we felt helps recovery. Like I said earlier, there are other organizations that have a different approach to harm reduction that say people should be allowed to do whatever they need to do on site, but we don't actually take that philosophy. We have access control and we have searches, and we do recover and take items from clients that we deem to be dangerous. The other part about sex offenders, I'm going to start with the law. So in the social services law, level 2 and level 3 sex offenders who are on parole or conditional release, whose offenses involved a minor, they're prohibited from living within a residency that's 200 feet from the school. So that's just they have residency restrictions. That's not only part of the penal code, but also part of the social services law. That being said, if there's a petition to change levels, I can tell you now that, from my understanding, public access to the sex offender registry provided by DCJS, the actual public access only provides information about level 2s and level 3s on parole. I do not know if the actual, because the notice about reclassification goes to specified parties. I don't know that we would actually get that information. That information should be going to that individual's parole officer or person who's in charge of conditional release. I've been in situations where docs, parole, DOP, they would let the actual residents and shelter know and say, so-and-so can no longer live here, or so-and-so's been reclassified. So part of that has to do with actually us obtaining information. Level 1s don't have a residency restriction, and so level 1s, to my knowledge, you know, we would abide by the DHS procedure. So unless DHS tells us that we would need to actually remove a level 1, level 1s would be permitted to actually be placed. But we don't, you know, we basically follow the law and the procedure issued by the city. We can provide more information on this. We know that it is a hot topic, and so we would hope to come back and follow up with our city partners who can provide more information about this. I do think that Abby mentioned this when she was actually, we were both presenting to PS 150. We do run a registry check as part of our intake procedure and process. So that is our responsibility. We do that. We also encourage and actually work with outreach to actually get that information in advance of referring people to the facility. And the reason why is we also want to know that for housing placement reasons, we want this information too. We want people to be safe, and we also want to know where this person could live when they ultimately leave shelter or safe haven. So I don't know if that's, I hope that answers the question and provides more information.
And not that this is comforting, but I don't think we have a school or child facility that is 200 feet or closer to your facility. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
we can find
and
out.
It's in most cases in the city, it's hard not to be because it can include a school, a ball field, and a school being a K through 12 school or educational facility that serves K through 12 students. So.
But I'm just saying, I don't think we have one, but I don't know for certain. We can find out though.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, Hadaria. Mitch, before we jump to the other, go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, I just had one thing I just thought of, and it's, you know, due to the times we're living in and the unfortunate circumstance of homeless people having to protect themselves, where a lot of them, for self-preservation, are carrying, whether it's a box cutter, a screwdriver, or something, a knife or something. Is there any mechanism for, I mean, I'm assuming there's no, like, you don't go through a metal detector like the airport.
You do.
But is there
yes,
any mechanism?
You do. That's part of our.
Oh, you do?
That's part of our access control. That's when I answered the question earlier.
You answered my question
yes,
right away.
Yes, it's not only a magnetometer and and possibly a wand search. It's also a bag search. The answer is yes, and it's a unit search.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Mitch. Lucian, so we have 4 more questions.
Sorry, I was muted. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's right.
Okay.
So next is Nancy. Nancy, you're you can unmute. Okay, you're good to go, Nancy.
Okay, thank you. Hi, we just have a lot of questions because the shelter is news for a lot of us, although it was mentioned that it was in the works for 4 to 5 years. So you mentioned that there's going to be metal detectors, bag searches, unit searches, etc. Could you please provide us some information regarding a lawsuit against your CUCS and your security company, Allied Barton, by Catherine Musano, who was in a violent knife attack at a safe haven, by James Sacco, who was transitioning from shelter into permanent housing that was owned or managed by Common Ground with services provided by you. I mean, if tenants are willing to attack the very people that are trying to help them, what's to stop them from attacking the people on the outside? I mean, she was someone that was assigned to him and was trying to help him, yet he attacked her with a knife.
I'm sorry. I mean, this is a case, I'm somewhat familiar with this case. It definitely predates me, and I'm not going to discuss litigation in a setting like this. So I don't have any information for you.
Okay. Also, I'm just wondering, why do you have panic buttons in your offices for staff? And how are they used? How often are they used? What happens when they fail? What's your protocol?
So panic buttons for staff. Also, I want to say that as long as I've worked prior to CUCS, also at DHS, there are panic buttons in intake facilities. Panic buttons are part of the staff safety protocol. And so we use a whole host of staff are taught about how to actually address clients, how to position themselves when they're interviewing clients, speaking with clients, how to indicate if they are in distress. As well as they are trained, you might have a client who presents a danger to himself. Part of the training is knowing how to respond. And yes, we provide panic buttons, as does the City of New York, as do other government offices who deal with human services and other types of folks. So that's not something that's particular to safe havens. It's also not even particular to the single adult population. It's something that's used in a wide variety of human service and other types of work. Hospital services as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna move now to the next person is David. David, you may unmute. David, you're unmuted. You go ahead.
I do have a few questions, so I'll try to get them off. Before I start, the China Institute is right across the street, and that is under 200 feet. So just for anyone interested in a school closer than 200 feet, are the guests, are the clients allowed to have guests inside? Will they have? Are they able to cook within the space? Do they have kitchens in their spaces, or is it a room without any type of kitchen facility? Is there any method of transitioning the residents of the shelter to other locations in Community Board 1 once you feel that they have gotten to a point where they can find permanent housing? Because the CB1 is comprised of, as people said, some of the most expensive places in the entire country. And so it seems like it would be very hard for anyone transitioning out of there to actually stay locally. And then I also want to, I know this has been going on in the works. I had been told a number of years ago that it actually was not moving forward. And so I know the deed had transferred to other groups and then transferred to CUCS for several $1 million more. So I just was interested in what the process was and why there were multiple parties involved, because all the petitions about 4 years ago and in 2020 were stopped. So why was kind of that done in a clandestine way without getting more community input at that time before the shelter was done? And is there any way to stop the shelter from coming here at this time?
Okay, I mean, this is where we would need our DHS partners. I was not part of CUCS possibly when this project first started. With respect to the characterization of clandestine, I do know that we worked with DHS to actually go through the community notification procedure that was required by the law and also required with the various elected officials involved. So I don't have more information than that. I would say that with respect to the purchase of the site, I'm unaware. I mean, I am aware of the chain of title and so forth, but we purchased it. Pursuant to all the other checks and balances that you would when you're purchasing property using government funds, with respect to an appraisal, with respect to all the different mechanisms. So that is the story on that. There were some other parts of this, though. There was a question about
kitchens and guests.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear, but there was a question about kitchens. Okay, so no, there are no cooking facilities in the actual safe haven units. there was a question about housing or something like this, about whether or not,
Because housing is so expensive in CB1,
yeah,
would it at all be
our,
possible for them to transition out of your shelter into housing, permanent housing in our community?
I would love to see more affordable housing in this area,
So would we.
and permanent supportive housing. While we can't guarantee that, we do like to actually have people in the area. Unless something changes, I think it's more likely that we're going to try and find a supportive housing or permanent affordable housing as close to the area as possible. Or perhaps, I mean, this is where clients actually do exercise their choice. They may want to go back to a borough of origin, or they may want to go back to where they may have networked with family and so forth. It really can vary. But our point is to get them into affordable housing or permanent housing. Usually what we find, what we know works, hands down, has been permanent supportive housing. And so that is the most common path.
Daria, this is Lucian. I think David's last question that's unaddressed was about guests, the guest policy.
Safe Haven clients don't have guests. So it's not as though you can invite somebody to stay over in your Safe Haven unit. And that's part of why we have access control. And one of the selling points when we sort of tell people when they're stabilizing, the Safe Haven is that transitional sort of intermediary step. You have space that you can close your door. You've got, food met. You've got basic needs met. You begin to stabilize. But we also tell people, like, life looks different when you're in your own apartment. Yes, you will have keys and you will be able to have people over, and you will have neighbors that, you'll have different types of amenities and so forth. So there are differences when it comes to permanent housing that we want to emphasize. So people, as they begin to rebuild their lives, say, you know what, I don't need to stay here anymore. I don't want to. I'm ready to move on.
Thanks, Adari. So I think we have one more question. Is that right, Lucia?
So hands are dynamic, and so we now of the original list that I said, there's 2 more people left, but since then 2 new people have raised their hand.
Okay,
and 1 person has
Daria,
raised
how
their hand.
much longer can you stay with us?
I just made a quick I've got like 5 minutes or so. Yeah,
Okay, so I
I've
think
got a
only
hard
the
stop.
original, let's try to get through the original 2 questions that are left. I'm sorry, we'll have to have you come back. Obviously, there are more questions than we have time for tonight. Let's try to do the original 2 questions if possible.
Okay, Catherine Medfredonia, you can unmute yourself now. Go ahead, you're unmuted.
Yeah, there is a school right at 87 Greenwich. There's also a playground right across from West Street. I was under the impression that 911 doesn't deal with homeless people anymore. Anytime I've ever called 311 for a noise complaint, they send somebody out 3 days later. When we had this conversation back a few years ago, they talked about the sex offenders. We had a principal from the school joining. And it's my understanding by law that if you are a level 2 or 3 sex offender, violent, recidivist, high recidivist rate sex offender, as long as you're not on parole, you can live wherever you want. Now, that's what I understood. I get about 25 to 40 emails a week from ny.gov of people of sex offenders moving into homeless shelters all over the city, either directly from prison or from somewhere else. I get the alerts. You can sign up for it. It's very scary because I get almost sometimes 50 a week, and it will say that this sex offender is moving into XYZ homeless shelter. And we know this happens, and we know that there's crime associated with it. The one on Water Street is a hot mess all the time. The one over by NYU, there's sex offenders going in and out. There was the case last year of one of them walking across the street into an apartment building and murdering somebody.
I'm sorry. I just want to interrupt you. Just explain to us what you mean by a hot mess with the shelter.
Well, I've seen reports of them breaking windows being broken, all sorts of different situations of vandalism, this, that, and the other over on Water Street.
In the shelter, or you mean in
the surrounding neighborhood. So the other thing is,
I also just wanted to interrupt you. I'm sorry, Catherine, that I have called 311 when I've seen homeless people on the street, either, behaving in ways that might be dangerous or not dangerous, actually, because 911 is danger, but, when they've been sleeping or they look like they need help. I've called 311 and actually have gotten responses that people have shown up.
And they come right away?
They come within a couple of hours.
Okay, so they don't.
Catherine, if you could ask a question,
Okay,
because
my
you're
question.
over a minute.
Okay, so my question is about, I've lived in this neighborhood for 15 years, in Midtown for another 15, and I almost never see anybody who's a street homeless who isn't obviously mentally ill, severely mentally ill or drug addicted. I don't understand the model. If somebody is street homeless, there is a big, big problem. And it's not about affordability. It is that they have a major issue. I was on the subway yesterday. Of course, you see this poor person. They are obviously very severely mentally ill. Just because you're coming in, and now this shelter also doesn't require you to be clean or sober or get into a program or have a work requirement. How are people moving out of this system under this model if 99% of the people who are street homeless are severely mentally ill or drug addicted? How are they going into permanent housing?
They go in through permanent supportive housing. And actually, one of the criteria for going in for eligibility for permanent supportive housing is actually mental health or mental illness. That was the definition in the model for permanent supportive housing, is to actually have, because the idea was when you try and just simply house folks who've been homeless in the past and who have had mental health issues in the past, the housing folks aren't stable. They'll usually likely get evicted. The entire point of the permanent supportive housing model is to actually have people in a tenant environment where there are, in fact, mental health services on site. CUCS's supportive housing residents have mental health services, psychiatric services, also case managers, also case workers as well. So that, typically when the tenants have these issues, then they have care. They're also able to actually have care coordinated for them in the outpatient environment. So permanent supportive housing has been successful. We think it's the best way to actually get people into supportive housing. So that to me is typically the path. With respect to the comment about the fact that folks who are street homeless have mental health issues, are mentally ill. This is, we believe, why safe havens actually are effective, why our safe havens are effective. It is a service-rich environment with medication management and both psychiatric and primary care services. And so we think we've seen that it has been effective. And I'm pretty much at my hard stop. I'm going to go over for one last question, and then I'm going to really need to jump.
Thanks, Hadari. So the last person, please make it short. Go ahead.
Okay. Last person is Brittany Harris. Brittany, you know the deal. You can unmute.
You guys hear me?
Yep.
Great. Thanks so much for coming. My first point, excuse me, is that I think we really need another special meeting just on this. I think a lot of people in the community have a lot of concerns for just finding out about this, especially parents in the neighborhood.
I'm sorry, Brittany, you're breaking up. You're breaking up.
Can you hear me now?
We need another meeting, and we will have one, but go ahead, try it again.
Okay. Yeah, I would say probably sooner than later if we could have another longer session with the community, because I think there's a lot of concerns in the community. People are just finding out, especially parents with children in the area. I think, in the community, everyone recognizes that homelessness is a crisis in New York, and everyone wants to help people and welcome people, that are experiencing homelessness. The system is broken in New York. We would like to work together to make it better so it's safe for both the community itself. People aren't worried about their children walking down the street, that there's going to be someone on drugs or shooting up or acting erratically, as well as for other residents that go into the facility as well. 84 members, 30 some staff that are in shifts. For people that are experiencing psychotic breaks, it's just not, it doesn't seem like enough, to be honest. So I think that we would really like another session.
Okay,
with-
we will
with-
do
with
that. And
more-
I'm sorry to rush
with-
you, but is there
Wrap
anything else
it
you
up,
want to ask?
Brittany.
with more dialogue. And I think, I guess the question here is then, when will that session be?
We don't know yet. We'll schedule it with them and then we'll send as you know, you can check the community board newsletter and see what our agenda is, but we will definitely schedule another meeting. Daria,
And Brittany, I can, you know, I have your contact information. As soon as we do schedule something, I will personally let you know, as well as all the other people on this call who I've personally contacted to inform them of this meeting.
great, thank you.
Okay.
So Hadaria, thank you so much for spending your time this evening with us and answering as many questions as you could. Obviously, you see, we need to schedule another meeting, so we'll be reaching out to you and your organization to see when we can get that. Elizabeth,
Yeah.
Hadaria has got to go, so what is it quickly, please?
I just wanted to make a comment because nobody actually seems to be addressing this. And I'm just appalled at the type of NIMBYism that's going on here. I mean, the assumptions being made about homeless people. Yes, of course there are mentally ill homeless people on the street and we see them. But I'm pretty sure, I mean, you're not bringing me statistics showing me that, you know, things are broken and there's a crisis, and there are mentally ill homeless people, undoubtedly, but there are also a lot of other homeless people that are not mentally ill that need a facility like this. And just the assumptions being made to me are just staggering.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to express that.
Thank you, Elizabeth. We appreciate that. Okay, so Hadaria, thank you. I know you've got to go. We really appreciate your time and your expertise, and we will see you sometime soon.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the support. I also appreciate the candor. And it is called community engagement. And so we expect to be back to talk with you and to respond. So yes.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, you as well.
So to members of the public, like Lucian said, first of all, thank you for coming and engaging on this topic tonight. We will schedule another meeting and let you know as soon as those plans have been solidified. So we wish you all a good evening. You're welcome to stay. Lucian, did you have an update on Ann Street that you wanted to share?
I was hoping to get more information. My recent district service cabinet meeting, the fire department or DOB both weren't there. So I'm going to try to get the update from them and include that in my district manager's report on Tuesday at the full board meeting, everyone, which is at the Manhattan Borough President's office on the 19th floor. Just as a reminder for all of our members and the members of the public. But I know that I can say that Ann Street is still closed. Demolition operations are still ongoing. I want to get more specificity about what buildings have partial full vacates that are adjacent or in the immediate vicinity of the collapsed garage. But if anybody on this call knows anyone who's been impacted, who lost a vehicle and is trying to recover it, please do reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat again. We do know how to direct you to that. Otherwise, any other questions are also are fair game. So feel free to email me with anything, but I'll try to have more specific information by full board.
And did Officer Sergeant Corrado?
I didn't see Sergeant Corrado. I've been checking. Sergeant Corrado, if I missed you, please raise your hand. But again, our normal community affairs officers who come, they both had something that they had to do tonight. I think they requested by a different command. So we'll try to have them
Let's
come
try
back.
to put in an earlier request for next month so they can come and they might actually be able to tell us about, you know, what
Specifically about that. Yeah.
about some of the other shelters also that have been in our community and continue to be in our community, and you know what kind of issues they may or may not have had with those shelters.
Yeah.
All right, so that
Certainly.
concludes our agenda for tonight. I would like to tell, or at least I'm sure that some of our board members, our committee members, don't know that Bob Schneck has passed away. We had a 1 minute of silence early in the meeting. Elizabeth, I'm not sure that you were here, or Rosa or Jill. I also wanted to let you know that Justine's mother passed away. So if you want to
I'm
reach
sorry,
out to
I didn't hear what you just said, Pat. Your voice broke up. Who's?
I'm sorry, Justine's mom passed away.
Oh no! Oh no! Okay.
Yeah, so Bob Schneck has passed away, and Justine's mom, just so that you know. Thank you all for engaging with this topic, and thanks for sharing. And I appreciate Elizabeth. I wanted to say it myself, so Elizabeth, I appreciate what you
I'm
have.
sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, I see both perspectives, but I
Right.
feel like that perspective had to be shared because
Thank
there was
you.
an overload of the other.
Don't be sorry. I'm happy you said it. Thank you.
It's hard to know when somebody is experiencing houselessness. And anyway, it's 10% of homeless people have mental illness. That's the statistic.
And not every, as Elizabeth said, not every homeless person has mental illness. And also not every person that may be having an issue in our community is affiliated with that shelter or any of the shelters in our community.
Yeah. Pat, I want
People in our
something
community.
else. We're talking about the panic button.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like saying every bank has a panic button. Many
Mhm.
of the grocery stores have panic buttons. So that's something that I'm glad they have. That's not an indication of something. Like you walk in a Chase Bank, every teller has a panic button.
And also the other issue is you have one person who has had a psychotic break and has unfortunately stabbed a staff member. How many hundreds of people have gone through those shelters and have had no incidents? Right?
I would say this one thing. Mimi just said the statistic is 10%. From some of the, I mean, I don't think it's as great as what the other a person was saying, but just from my visual experience, it seems to be a little large, a little more than that, than 10% from what I see on the trains all the time. Unfortunately, whether it's a substance abuse or I don't know, it's a mental illness, but something's off, and it seems to be a little just from living and using the transportation every day.
Right.
But it's somewhere in between. I think the low number and the high number, which is really not the be all and end all. But
Right.
anyway,
Desi?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Mimi confirmed that. What I was going to say was the percentage is not 99% of people, who are homeless have mental health issues.
Of course, yes.
Much lower than that. But I would also say that the greater community also has mental health issues.
Thank you.
We have quite a few people who work, who have homes, who live in our community, who suffer from very deep mental health issues, and they've been illuminated since the pandemic.
Thank
and so
you.
sort of paint this population that who are riddled with sex offenders and mental health patients sort of implies that doesn't already exist in our housed community.
Right. Exactly. Thank you for sharing that.
Pat, can I bring up something before
Mitch,
you
hold
leave
on,
it and
because
Listen leaves? Can I bring up?
yeah, but hold on a second, because Mimi and
What?
Francis want to say something.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Since you haven't said anything, you're muted.
Yeah, I was very offended when the resident was asking, well, what do they do and where they go when they're going to walk around the neighborhood and they can't buy stuff here, pizza is $5 and, where do they get their money from? And it was like,
And those are not the issues, truthfully.
I know,
Those are
I
not the
know.
issues.
And I was just very, very offended, by her questions. But anyway, I was
I'm offended
thinking,
that pizza's $5.
I was I was thinking that I know that right here in 55, like on Wednesdays, they have senior day and they offer $10, $10 discounts. I'm wondering if we could look at doing something community-wide for these people so that, you
Let's
know,
discuss
they,
it because when they
yeah,
first
so like when they go
came,
to Whole Foods, they have a special card, they can get $10, 10, you
right,
know, 10% off
right.
something, or wherever they go, you know,
We
in the
also talked
neighborhood.
about doing like a holiday, you know, gift thing, and
Well, yeah,
maybe we
one
could do
one
some
of the
Secret
ladies
Santa
brought that
thing.
up as
What if they
well.
get fast track for maybe SNAP benefits? If they're in that program, that might be something to ask them, because that would be a good thing.
All right, well, gather all those questions and like send them in and email them and let's compile a list. Mimi, you wanted to say something?
Yes. So when they've, I believe one of the times that they presented to us was July 15th, 2021, when we were in person, randomly in the middle of the pandemic. And there was a woman in attendance whose name I don't have, but if we could look up who the WeWork representative was at that meeting.
Oh yeah,
She did a lot of work with the homeless
I
previously.
remember that. Yeah.
And that's where I
So
got this.
WeWork is no longer in existence, right? Isn't WeWork?
No, WeWork is around.
It's still around?
Yeah, they're
Some,
around.
I'd
She was
say
the
very
community
few,
manager,
not as
but we
many
would
as
have a history
before.
of, like, we would know what her name is because it would be in our.
Yeah, I might have it in my records if I go back and look also. Good
Checked in with
suggestion.
her. I checked in with her like about a year ago, and she was still there because I thought we were gonna have another conversation on it, and I asked her if she was interested, and then I sorry, it slipped my mind for this one, but she was still there as a year ago.
Okay.
Yeah, she offered to talk to us about it because she's obviously well educated, and she's she's not a part of the shelter specifically, so maybe she would have a good third party perspective. But I would like to emphasize that when one has nowhere to go and one doesn't have a home, it is really difficult throughout the day to just find a place to just rest and be.
Yeah.
And the way that the shelter is not kicking everybody out during the day is a really important part of reintegrating into society.
And I'm so happy that they're allowing people to bring their pets, because that is one of the big barriers to people actually going into shelters. We all have pets, you know, not we all, but a lot of us have pets, and we know how we feel about our fur babies. And, you know, it's really important. I can remember 9/11 running out of my apartment and not wanting to leave because I couldn't find my cats, who unfortunately were lost 9/11. But I, you know, waited and kept searching and searching, and my husband's trying to get me out of the door, but I didn't want to leave my cats, you know? So we all know how we feel about our fur babies. Mitch, you had something else you want to say?
Yeah, I wanted for Lucian, you know, I had mentioned before, the Flea Theater. They were dormant for like the last bunch of years since the pandemic. They started having event.
I'm sorry, you broke
like
up.
in the alleyway out. The Flea Theater, if we can
Flea,
find like try to nip that in the bud. I had mentioned it to Lucian and I think you a few years ago, and they had an event last night outside instead of in the beautiful theater, making a lot of noise. And Lucian, I was wondering if you could, you know, they're serving food. They were serving food and having an event. If they're allowed to do that, and if we can if you can contact them, because they're going to be starting rehearsals soon, and they have that whole outdoor alleyway set up. And I just don't want to go through what happened a few years before the pandemic. And I was wondering if we could nip it in the bud, whether you contact them and possibly invite them and see what's going on and find out if they're even allowed to do that.
Can we invite them for the next meeting, Lucian?
Yeah,
well,
I'll
maybe
reach out
Lucian
to
could
them.
call them first. Lucian, maybe you can contact the person you contacted before and seeing what the plans are. So as maybe not to, you know, I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill, but I would like to nip it in the bud before, like, they start to have their rehearsals, you know, outside of the theater in the open, you know.
Right. Okay. Any other suggestions for topics for our agenda? Anybody else? If not, you'll come up with it. Rosa, let's congratulate Rosa on Gotham Park, by the way. Rosa, are you there? Rosa?
I am here. Hi, sorry, it took me up.
Congratulations on Gotham Park. You want to give us a little update on what's going on?
Sure. So you let's see. Sorry, let me get this. So we are having an opening on May 24th. We are very late getting the invite out, but you will be receiving one soon. So
What day of
sorry,
the
we
week is
just
May 24th?
literally been up to my eyeballs. So just have some mercy on me. We're getting through everything we're trying to get through right
What
now.
day of the week is that?
That's on Wednesday.
A Wednesday?
Where is Gotham Park, Rosa?
Sorry?
Where is Gotham Park?
Well, Gotham Park doesn't actually exist. It's a figment of my imagination. So
Oh, I'm
and the
sorry.
city
That's
is
I feel
calling
so
so the city is calling it the Arches, as you may have seen in the press release from the city. And it's going to be if you're familiar at all with the area underneath the bridge, it's the area that's part of the small banks. So it's called the 9 Stair. It's like a little, it's basically, if you look at it on a site plan, it's shaped like a thumb. So we call it the thumb. And that is right beside One Police Plaza. That is the nearest neighbor on there. And then the other section is the basketball court and volleyball court and handball and shuffle ball board, whatever. There is no pickleball. We did try to get an estimate of the sizing from the fence because they don't want to let me in still. So we did try to measure it from outside in the fence, and we think maybe a pickleball court, a single one, might be possible. And
Rosa, there's been a couple of problems with
in that,
pickleball.
but I don't know if and or when we will be able to do that. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, there isn't a volleyball net up now, but I can tell you that just 2 days ago, they installed brand new basketball hoops and backboards, which, I mean, considering that the other ones were from 1972, that was a really good thing. And there was only one of them. So it was really good to see 2 basketball hoops go up, and they were new, which was also super nice.
Is it a full court, Rosa, or 2 separate ones, or a full court?
So I don't
basketball?
think it's regulation size, if that's what you're asking for.
No. What I meant is it a full court, like 2 hoops opposite each other?
Yes,
opposite,
yes,
or is
there
it
are
like
2
okay,
hoops
good.
opposite each other. But 3 days ago there was only 1 hoop standing very lonely looking, but now there's 2.
Good.
So we were very excited about that. And we actually did some corporate volunteer gardening, which was really nice. Sadly, we haven't had a soil test result back yet, so we were not able to go into the areas that are opening soon to beautify them. So we ended up, as an emergency measure, asking Parks Department, PACE, and DOT if we could actually do Drumgoole Park, which we did. And it was awesome. We cleaned up, and then we had 2 groups. So one was Goodwin Law and the other was Amazon. Goodwin Law helped us cleaning up, and then Amazon helped us with both the cleanup.
You're just rolling here.
And sorry?
You're rolling along.
Yes. Well, it was good training for them and for us. Hopefully they'll come back. We did discover 2 squished rats, and I'm sure there's like a lot more, but those Amazon folks are brave. Those women just went right at it, picked them up, stuck them in the bag, and off we went. So I was actually really impressed, and of course it was the women that picked them up. and yeah, so if you pop by Drumgoole Park right next door and you see some very cute little small plants in there, then that was us and our volunteers doing that work with and that was in partnership with a group called Welcome to Chinatown, which I don't know if you guys all know. They are awesome, organized, and not that much older than us, but they're just like on top of their stuff. So that was incredible. And right now we're begging DOT for some space so that we can actually store like our shovels and watering cans and all of that stuff. And so far haven't had any success. So if you guys want to put effort into community board pressure to help us get a little bit of storage space so I don't have to like bring all the stuff back to my apartment, then that would be awesome.
Tell us who to reach out to. Thanks, Rose.
Yeah, that's it.
Great, thanks, Rosa. And we look forward to getting the invitation. By the way, the 24th is a Wednesday night. What time is the event?
I'm not going to say that out loud because this is recorded in public, and the space is small. The space is very small, actually.
So we look forward to getting our invites then.
Yes, absolutely.
So listen, board members, committee members, if you have any other topics you want to go on the agenda, please reach out to Lucian or Mariama or myself or all three of us. And on that note, I thank you all for being such a great committee, asking great, insightful questions, being supportive of our new neighbors that will be moving in a year or so. Again, Elizabeth, thank you for your comment. Lucian, thank you so much for always being so great and about organizing our meetings and getting our guests here and keeping everything rolling. We appreciate it.
Sure.
So everybody have a good night. I'll see you.
Bye.
Pat, do I need to send you an email about the Flea Theater, or you have it in your mind?
You send me an email, Mitch. Send me an email.
I'll send you two an email. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Take care.
Good night.